take it, Harold, you've already testified previously, you understand you're still under oath.
Yes, sir, I do.
And briefly, you've been with the police department about 15 years, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And your current position is detective as a crime scene specialist?
That's correct.
And you've been doing that for how long, sir?
The last 9 years.
Now, let me go back, if I can, to the day of December 28, 2010, and the following day, December 29, 2010. Were you working in that unit at that particular time as a crime scene investigator?
I was.
And at that time, were you called and did you participate in the processing of the scene of the 360 Nottingham Drive here in Athens where Omar Ray was shot and killed?
I was called to do so, yes.
And can you tell us, were you on duty or were you off duty and called in? You were called?
I was not on duty. I was at home. It was shortly after midnight on the 29th of December. From time to time, even when we're not working or we're not on call, we're called in to assist. And Sergeant Radford had called and requested my assistance there at the scene. And so it was about 30 minutes after midnight when I arrived to assist him.
Okay. And when you arrived to assist, can you basically tell us what you saw and how you proceeded to assist him?
At that point, Sergeant Radford, he had worked the crime scene from the least intrusive to the most intrusive. He had identified certain items of evidence that were down on the ground. At that point in time, he needed assistance with triangulation, taking measurements to certain pieces of evidence and that kind of thing. So we collectively went through in a systematic process to document all that stuff.
And did you assist him then in the triangulation and the processing of the rest of the scene there, sir?
I did.
And at that time, did you assist him in collecting any evidence as well?
Yeah, there were many items of evidence that were collected at the scene.
Okay. And were those collected by him after you arrived, or has there been items collected already that were before you arrived?
As I recall, he had located the items, and he was in the process of doing that collection. I don't remember exactly what stage of the process that he was in.
And with that, you had to do measurements to do triangulation, so the items were still there before they had been collected.
That's correct.
And how long did that take for you to assist him, and how long did you remain on the scene that particular occasion?
I had made note in my report that I was there about 2 hours and 5 minutes. It's a slow and deliberate process when you're taking those measurements.
Yes, sir. And in the process of that, after you left the scene, what did you do at that point?
At that point in time, I departed the scene. I returned home. When I returned back to work the next, short hours later, at 9 o'clock in the morning, it is very common when we go out and work the scene at night to do a follow-up search. It's done during the daylight hours. Obviously, it's a whole lot easier to see items of evidence, but you want to go back and make sure that there's not anything that you may have overlooked during the darkness. So that's what I did at 9 o'clock, hours after the initial scene was worked.
And when you went back there, do you know about what time you arrived?
I had made note that it was 0900, 9 o'clock in the morning.
And when you arrived, was anyone else there at the scene?
I recall there being a GBI agent, maybe 2 on the scene. I don't recall exactly who was there.
And what did you do when you arrived? Just tell us how you proceeded to further process the scene in the daylight hours.
Then in the daylight hours, if we've got an area that we want to search for additional evidence, we already know that there's spent shell casings that are already on the ground. We want to make sure that we have accounted for as many as possible. We haven't overlooked anything. We'll oftentimes conduct a strip search, or if we have a square area, we will walk in a straight line from one point to the next, take a couple of steps over, and come back to where you're covering sections of ground to ensure even and uniform coverage for the area that you're searching.
And did you do that on that day?
I did.
And what did you discover when you did that?
We found there was an additional spent casing at the scene that was noted as Elmer, who would have been casing number 6.
The 6 shell casing found from that scene?
That's correct.
Was that one that you found?
It was one that I found, yes, sir.
And did you photograph all that?
I did take photos of the scene, yes, sir.
And did you collect that particular item?
I did. That item was collected by myself.
And were there any other areas, what areas did you actually do that area strip search?
That was in the area, I guess it would be just to the east of the carport, in the grassy area, and also into the backyard. When they checked that whole area to make sure that we had good and neat coverage. And we also, I noticed that there was a small hole in one of the areas of soil, and so I dug into the soil thinking that perhaps a projectile had lodged itself down into the ground. I had dug out a section of ground looking for a projectile, but I was unsuccessful. I did not find one.
And did y'all either the night before or when you went back find any projectiles on the scene at all?
I did not.
Now, if you will, what else did you do that morning at the scene?
That morning at the scene, as we were looking on the galvanized fence, there's a gated fence. On one of the sections, the right, if you were to stand at the street and look at the home, one section on the right, there was a suspected blood stain. It wasn't very high up off the ground, so I took a cotton tipped applicator, which is a fancy word for Q-tip, took some sterile water and went ahead and swabbed that.
And did you take that into custody at all and put it in one of those long boxes, I guess, for testing?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. And what else did you do there at the scene, sir?
I noticed that when I was looking in daylight hours that there were items inside a silver and colored Chrysler. At the time, as I'm looking in there, because we don't have a suspect at this point in time, potentially anything can be valuable evidence. So I noticed that there was a black knit cap in the car, there was a McDonald's bag, a McDonald's cup, and there was a straw with a lid. So I went and saw Ms. Ruby Jordan, Elmer Gray's mother, and I asked her if she would provide me the keys to the vehicle and consent to search to recover that evidence, and that's what I did.
And did you retrieve the keys from her?
I did.
Okay. And what did you do there with regard to that car?
So once that was completed, I went ahead and documented that I collected these particular items, and they were collected as evidence so that I could take them back and process them for fingerprint or DNA evidence back to the lab.
And was the car locked at all? Did you need the key to get inside?
That's correct. It was secured.
And the items that you, when you went inside the car and processed it, tell us what it is that you recovered.
The item specifically was a black knit cap, a McDonald's bag, a McDonald's cup, and a McDonald's lid with a straw.
And what did you do with those items?
Those items were taken back to the police department for further processing.
Okay. And what else did you do there at the scene?
I believe that concluded. Obviously, when the spent casing was found additional, I had to go back and perform triangulation to add that to our crime scene sketch, and I did that. But I think that wrapped up our processing for that day.
Now, if you will, were you over there on that day at some point when there was an amount of marijuana found by other officers there inside the carport area?
I was.
And was that before you left that area at that point, or was it some other late time do you recall?
I don't recall. I do remember that there was an investigator on the scene that had found a quantity of marijuana inside a speaker there in the carport. I don't remember exactly where it was. That was obviously an investigative act that was taking place by another detective, but I don't know.
You were not the one that sees that, but you watched and saw that particular item?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, sir, the items that you received found there at the scene, the casing, as well as the items from the car, what did you do with those items?
All those items were bagged, and they were sealed with evidence tape and placed into evidence.
Okay. Let me show you, sir, what's been marked as today's exhibit number 925 through 958. Take that.
Like I said, 59, he said.
925 through 958.
Well, he got 959 here.
959. Oh, let me see that.
Because 331 said it didn't.
I understand. Do 959. 925 to 959.
I recognize the photographs.
And what are those photographs of and who took those?
These are the photographs that I took from the scene, the daylight photos, taken working, even though it's a separate processing, if you will, during daylight hours. I try to recreate the least intrusive kind of 360 and working my way up.
Matter, I would tender an evidence State Exhibit 932 with 959, 925 and 931 have already been done.
No, sir, y'all.
These fairly naturally reflect how that scene looked when you got there and took photos on that day, sir.
It does.
In 925 that we've seen before, for your recollection, that was the photo of the outside of the residence that you took on that day, sir.
That is correct. We're facing a northerly direction with the street to our back.
And .930 is you recognize what that's a photograph of, sir?
This is just a closer photograph working our way closer into the carport area.
And you see in that particular photograph a portion of the area that you did what you call a strip search going back and forth.
Yes, sir.
There's a labor corner in front of you.
This area in here, working our way back even into the backyard where we're looking for evidence.
And for the record, State's Exhibit 932 was what, sir?
This is a photograph of the license plate of a black or blue dark Ford Explorer.
And State's Exhibit 933, what is that for the record, sir?
This is the photograph. We're still looking in a northerly direction. There's a substantial blood stain or suspected blood stain here. This gives reference because I find an area in this area here where I spoke about digging up a potential projectile, and the fact that there was an additional shell casing that was found on this side of the house.
And in regard to the area that you were digging for a possible projectile from where the bloodstain is, from that to the back right corner of the carport in that pole, where would it be located?
Based on this photo, it's difficult, but this would be in the approximate center right here.
State's Exhibit 934. Did you ever see in that photo the area that you were referring to that you wound up seeing a possible hole where a projectile might be?
The photos further back will give a better vantage point, actually facing to the south as to the area of interest for that potential dig.
Okay. State's Exhibit 935 showing what, sir?
This is just another photograph of the substantial suspected blood deposit with this relationship with the vehicle.
936, sir?
This is another photograph. We're actually facing to the south at this point, and the area of digging is in this area right here. I think additional photographs will show the image a little bit better.
And 937. See that well? And you just always look at the monitor, maybe clearer.
Now there may be an additional photograph that maybe shows it better.
Yes, sir. And 938 was showing what, sir?
This is again, we're facing from the south, looking back toward the street.
Let me show you 941. What was that displaying, sir?
This is the spent shell casing that I have located. There's a yellow placard number 1. Sequentially, this can get kind of confusing. I consider this a separate processing investigative act. So at this point in time, I'm returning, and for this particular investigative act, I identified that as item number 1.
It states Exhibit 939. It's what, sir?
This is a closer up photograph of that spent casing.
And then 940.
It's even closer still of that same spent casing.
Was it somewhat buried by some of the leaves and straw, or did you uncover it any at all?
I don't recall. We do our best to photograph the items as we find them. We don't want to tamper with anything. So I don't imagine we would have uncovered. I believe that's what we found.
And place is it 942? Is that anything different than what you would have there, sir?
That's the same spent casing. This is just more of a medium range. A lot of times when we take photographs, we want to take a photograph that shows enough of the geographical area so that you have a reference to know exactly what you're looking at, not just the casing itself, but how it's spatially related for the other objects in the area.
Nine 44 was displaying what, sir?
This is a suspected blood stain on that right chain link gate that we spoke about. And I identified that as item number 2.
945. Is it closer up view of that?
Yes, sir. It's difficult to see because of the galvanized metal.
You'll be able to see that if you look at the monitor further. We have a clear picture. You can see where it is. You're talking about the blood stain.
Yes, sir. It's this area right here. It's not very substantial, but it is blood transfer.
It appeared to be, did it go from one point right there down further along that fence post?
Yes, sir.
in an elongated fashion?
Yes, sir. It is a
What
elongated
did
transfer.
you believe it to be at that time, or how that blood got there?
Based on the relationship of where this blood transfer is found with regards to the way everything is laid out structurally, and also knowing that paramedics had attended to the victim in this case. Also, there are lines in the dirt where a gurney was rolled through, and because of the height of this particular blood transfer, this appeared to me to be consistent with the fact that the victim was bleeding and he was taken from the area. It would be very common for a victim to bleed as they were being rolled away by paramedics. So that's what this appeared to me to be.
It was left there as a gurney, as he was removed on the gurney?
That's what it appears to be, yes. But I went ahead and collected it nonetheless out of posterity.
And how did you collect it again, sir?
Using a cotton tip swab with sterile water, applying, collecting some of the dry suspected blood, and then placing it into a cardboard specimen box and then sealing it, marking the seals with my initials attached on it.
In State's Exhibit 948, you see in that photo the approximate area that you collected that at all?
This is, again, we talked about we want to have spatial relationships of what you're looking at for evidence. I took this photo because we've got the suspected blood transfer would be on this particular gate right here. Thank you. This particular gate right here in this area would have been the area where the EMTs would have taken Mr. Ray from the residence. And also, I think in another one of the photographs, we're going to see some marks, lines of demarcation from where the gurney had rolled through there.
And 944, going back to that, the house in the background there, was that the house, the next door neighbor's house? Did you face the house from Nottingham? It'd be the one on the right.
That's correct, sir.
In 950, show us what, sir?
It's difficult to see, but this is showing that, again, the spatial relationships with the chain link gate with regards to the vehicle and the blood stains.
In 951, tell what you're viewing in there, and particularly these items here, that anything of note that you thought?
Yes, sir. This is just those lines that we're talking about here. These are consistent. Obviously, the trolley type wheels that are on a gurney are very, very narrow, and this is consistent with traffic from a gurney in this particular area.
Going back to 950, zooming in, shows up on the overhead, they show up on. You see those lines that you're talking about there? Sir?
Yes, sir. You're seeing those right there.
And that is it, the gurney was coming between the gate and the car there?
That's correct. That would be very consistent. We know that the substantial blood deposit is on the back side of that area, and we have blood transfer, suspected blood transfer here, and then we've got the what appears to be gurney wheel. All that suggests that Mr. Ray was taken from the scene via that route.
Let me show you several photos here, sir, if I can. First of all, 954, what does that show?
This is the area that I suspected there would be a possible projectile into the ground. I believe the hole is right there. It's
What is that item on the ground right there?
It appears to be a screwdriver.
$9.53.
This is just a closer-up photograph of. That's better. You see the screwdriver, this small hole here. I wanted to capture this before I began. I didn't know what I was going to find, but I wanted to capture this prior to date.
And you dug into that hole and didn't find any projectile at all?
I did not. I don't know if that was an animal hole or what the case was, but I did not find any evidence.
Let me show you these photos, this group of photos, 955 through 959, please. Just tell us what that group of photos is depicting. That would go just directly.
State Exhibit 955, 956 are of the black knit cat that are found inside the silver Chrysler. State Exhibit 957 shows where I've placarded items 3, 4, 5, and 6 for this particular investigative act, which is the black knit cat, the McDonald's bag, the McDonald's cup, and also the straw with the lid. State Exhibit 958 and 959 are just additional photos of the same.
And these are matters that were seized from the car.
That's correct.
Let me show you, first of all, 959. Identify in that photo, what is that a picture of, first of all, and what area of the car?
This is the front passenger quadrant of the silver Chrysler that was parked in the driveway, with item 3 being the black knit cat, number 4 being the McDonald's bag, number 5 being that cup in the cup holder, and number 6 being the straw with the lid.
And basically, you were the one that put those placards there, is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And that was after you began further processing that particular car?
Yes, sir.
And at that time, you had to secure the keys from Ms. Jordan and unlock that particular car before you began processing?
That is correct.
You received consent from her to do so?
She did. She provided consent to me at that time.
$9.55. Placard 3 is the knit cap.
Yes, sir.
$9.57 is just a closer version of that particular part of the car.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Sir, on all those items that were marked by a placard you seized, is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir, it was.
And you took them into evidence,
I did.
secured them, is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And what did you do with those items, and what documentation did you fill out for those items, please?
These items were taken back to the police department. I conducted processing on these items. The black knit cap was not processed. It was placed into a bag. The McDonald's bag was sprayed with a chemical that we use for latent fingerprints called anhydride. Anhydride reacts with the amino acids found in your fingerprints. It turns potential fingerprints purple and visible. Once the anhydride is processed, we use a Black & Decker standard household iron. It speeds the enhancement process. Immediately, I did not notice any fingerprint evidence on the bag. That's not uncommon. Sometimes it takes a while to enhance. The McDonald's cup was processed for latent fingerprints, and also the lid with the straw. Additionally, the lid with the straw, I don't know who consumed from that particular container. So I swabbed the straw for potential DNA evidence, and obviously with a cotton tip applicator, whether it was sterile water, and the cardboard specimen boxes, just like I had previously spoken.
The McDonald's bag that you identified as item 4, you said you processed it for prints. Again, how did you go about doing that?
With that chemical menhydrin.
Super glue?
No, sir, that's different.
It's different. Okay.
Yes, sir. Menhydrin is a liquid product. It's sprayed liquidly to a paper substrate, and it reacts. The downsides of menhydrin is that it's not an immediate, like black or magnetic fingerprint powder, but it does yield good usable fingerprints over time. And there was a point in time that I had put this item away and went back later on after I had given it time to process and enhance. I still did not find any usable fingerprints on the item.
So you processed the bag for prints as you described it, there was no print.
That's correct.
And how about the cup itself?
No usable fingerprints were found on the other items as well.
Was that a McDonald's cup?
McDonald's cup, the straw, and the lid.
And in regard to that knit cap, you took it into custody, sir? You put it in there?
I did. I placed it into a paper bag, and the paper bag was sealed. The seal was marked with my initials attached.
Let me retrieve the shell casing on that. To show you, please, sir, what's been identified as safe exhibit number 1093, a plastic bag that has quite a bit of barcodes. Other items contained therein. Would you look at that and see if you see any item that you recognize?
Yes, I recognize this item here. This particular item's got my handwriting, it's got my initials on the evidence date on either side, and also my handwriting indicating the date and the case number.
And what was that item, sir, that's contained in that film canister?
This is an empty film canister. This is a spent shell casing, a CCI brand 40 caliber casing.
And that casing, was that the one that you found on December 29th when you went back at 9 o'clock?
Was.
It seemed that you labeled as item 1 in that new investigative act.
That's correct. Yes.
And what did you do with that item, sir?
For this particular item, I swabbed this for touch DNA. It's in lieu of dusting it for latent fingerprints. There's not a whole lot of room on spent casing. So for this particular item, I elected to attempt to get touch DNA to identify potential suspect for this case.
And what do you mean there's not a lot of room for printing and so forth? Tell us about that.
A shell casing is very small, and because it's very small, even when you touch it with your hands, the number of ridges that you apply to the surface to deposit a fingerprint are very small. You have to have really, really good quality fingerprints in such a small area. For this particular case, at this point in time in the investigation, we didn't have a suspect, and I thought at this point in time that it's better to see if we could get potential touch DNA evidence as opposed to dusting it for fingerprints.
Would it be one of those situations you had to do one or the other?
It is. Typically, there are, you can dust something for fingerprints and go back and try to touch DNA. But that's kind of sketchy. I don't want to apply when you're touching, you're swabbing for touch DNA. After it's already been processed for fingerprints, you're picking up the black fingerprint powder. So it's really, yes, you can do both. Realistically, it's more of an either or. So that's when I elected to just go ahead and do the touch DNA and roll forward.
And what did you do with that swab that you collected in an attempt to get that DNA off that particular shell casing?
It was placed into a cardboard specimen box, sealed, and then was sent off for testing at a later time.
Okay. And for these other items, sir? first, which has been marked as State Exhibit number 1097, sir. You recognize that particular item, sir?
State's Exhibit 1097 was the item 3 from the scene that we looked at just previously with the black net cap, packaged in a paper bag with the evidence tape that we spoke about. My initials of badge number are found on the seals.
And would you open that to make sure that's appears to be what that had? That's it. You got something? Have it open.
This is the black net cap that I recovered from the silver crossbow that day.
Let me show you which was marked as State Exhibit number 1098. Show it to the defense, please, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
And you recognize that particular bag, and then look inside, if you will, if you can, see if you recognize the item contained in it.
State's Exhibit 1098 is the small McDonald's bag that I spoke of earlier. I know that I processed this particular item of evidence. There's a small circle up here. It says PROJH. My initials, my badge number, the date, and an NL. That's an indication that there were no latents that were lifted from this particular item. This is a McDonald's bag that was recovered from the silver Chrysler.
And does its condition look different than it did when you received it from the car?
It looks different in that there are some purple shading. This purple shading is consistent with being sprayed with anhydride, and that's the result. But other than that, it is in the same condition.
Let me show you State Exhibit 1099, as well as 1100.
State's Exhibit 1099 is my item number 5, the McDonald's cup. State's Exhibit 1100 is the McDonald's lid and straw.
You look at 1099 and 1100, the contents, and see if they contain what the report contains.
State's Exhibit 1099 is the McDonald's cup. State's Exhibit 1100 is the straw and the lid.
And did you process those items at all for any kind of print sale?
I did. Both of those items have the same circle that I described before with my initial badge number and the NL indicating their lanes were found.
And you indicated that about the cup as well?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would tender, first of all, the film canister that from State Exhibit 1093 that contained the .40 caliber Smith & Wesson CCI shell casing that Detective Carroll has identified as the one that he seized from that scene, and that new investigative act on December 29, 2010, he labeled as item number 1.
Any objection? What item would that be? Item 6 in Exhibit 1093.
It was actually labeled as item 1, I think. The film canister is the best way to describe it. The film canister containing that particular item at the and I would tender stations in 97, 98, 99, and 1100 as well.
No, sir, you don't.
That's all I have of, taking care of.
How you doing, Mr. Harold?
Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. Harold, I'd like to direct your attention back to March 22nd, 2011, please, sir. Okay, you testified earlier that you went to the scene and processed certain things at the scene, correct, sir?
I did.
You did a report on the Omar Ray case as well as the police shooting incident case, right, sir?
No, I did not do a report.
You did?
No, not on the Sycamore Drive case. No, I did not.
Do you recall doing it, making a supplemental report, just an overall summary of the Omar Ray case and the March 22nd, 2011 case, sir?
I did. Whenever items, I had testified previously about this. From time to time, when we're sending groups of items of evidence to the crime lab for submission, instead of just attaching police reports for the crime lab scientists or employees to go ahead and dig through, I like to just compile a narrative, how each case, what I'm submitting, how each case relates to one another, and the specific priority of testing that I would like to be performed. So yes, that report was generated on March the 24th. That was 2 days after the Sycamore Drive incident. I did take the items of evidence for the casings and ballistic evidence, and I did compile that report.
Okay, do you have that report with you, sir?
I do.
Okay, could you please pull it out, please, sir? Introduce this as an exhibit. I think he said he has it, but I want to put on a little Elmo. Do I have to put it, introduce it as an exhibit before I put it up there?
Before you can display it, it has to be
Lay the foundation. All right, sir. You did do a report on it, as you just stated, correct?
I did. I wouldn't call this a report. I would call this a summary of investigative acts and priority of testing requests.
You said a summary of investigative acts.
That's just what I'm calling it. I'm not sure there's a specific term. It's just something that I like to do to assist the crime lab personnel so that when they get the items that I'm asking them to test, that they have a little bit more clarity about the case and what they're doing.
Okay, could you tell us about the report, other than what you just explained to the jury? What's the purpose of this report?
The purpose of the report is that, just exactly what I just stated. I want the person at the crime lab, as they're getting these multiple items of evidence, to understand the case, especially in this particular situation where we have several cases that we feel that were linked through ballistic evidence, and how they are related to one another and the priority of testing that I was requesting.
You know what my last decision, 27?
This one's 27. Last one's 26.
Now, I would like to introduce the defendant, exhibit 27, so the witness can look at it.
First of all, to show us that we're sorry. All of these see it.
I'd like you to look at defendant's exhibit number 27, sir. Do you recognize what you see in that exhibit, defendant exhibit 27, sir?
I do. This is the summary that I just spoke about for the minutes of crime line.
Okay, is it fair and accurate of what you wrote in your summary of investigation?
It is.
Your Honor, I would like to tell us the evidence defendant exhibit number 27, please, sir.
No objection. Submitted.
Mr. Harris. I think it looked like the lady's on Mr. Hall's table right there, up under the seat. I mean, it looked like it from right here, right there. Yeah, that's it, hiding up on that stuff. That's it right there. Yeah, that's it. Mr. Correa, I would like you to look right here at this third paragraph, sir. And this go back to what it is. March 27, 2011, sir.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, when you agree that this third paragraph says that Jackie Lou was riding in a red Suburban when after the bull-listed kidnapping, he was shot by Officer Tony Howard. Who had shot Howard twice, once in the face and one in the shoulder. Subsequently, who had ran up to Officer Buddy Christian's car, who would ride as a backup. I'll let you down. Where did you get that Officer Christian a ride as backup? Could you tell us why you put Officer Christian a ride as backup in your report, sir?
I think one of the things that you have to take into consideration is this is 2 days after the incident. There's a whole lot of activity going on in the police department. There are certain conclusions that are drawn based on what you see. The investigation takes time for itself to roll out. A lot of details come in over the next weeks and months and so on. At the time, 2 days after the Tony Howard shooting, the Buddy Christian shooting, I generated this report. So the understanding that I had at the time were the facts that I put into, the details that I put into this particular summary, if you will.
So are you saying that come after a couple of days of the investigation? Is that correct, sir?
At that point in time in my investigation, this was my understanding. Now, I understand that since then, other details have become present. Knowing what I know now, I wouldn't obviously write this the same way. At the time, I used the best facts that I had at my disposal and compiled this summary.
Now, will you agree, if you weren't sure about the investigation, why you wrote it in the report? Why didn't you just wait to get the whole report done before you write your supplemental report of your whatever you're going to write here?
The importance is, when we get down to brass tacks, is that we have multiple incidents that we're investigating. We think that they're linked, and we're trying to put the suspect behind bars, and there's a manhunt going on. So as much as I would like to sit and wait for months, weeks, whatever the case is, it's important for me, and it's important for the GBI, and it's important for the other investigators within Athens-Clarke County if we can get this information and secure warrants for a suspect.
Will you agree that even though certain situations might be hard, you're supposed to maintain your professionalism at all times?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Now, wouldn't you say as a professional, after the investigation you've done, which was clear, it was fresh on you, when you wrote this report as he arrived at backup? Will you agree with that?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Will you agree at the time you wrote this report here about Officer Christian arriving at backup, that was fresh on your mind? A day or two after the incident, will you agree with that, sir?
The understanding that I had at that particular time was the details that are put in this summary.
Okay, but what investigation did you do to come up with these details put in your summary?
The investigation that I did at the scene was processing. There were certain conclusions that I could draw based on situation of vehicles, how certain vehicles are related, within geographical locations to one another. So there were certain things that I concluded at the scene, which I obviously know now are different. But at the time, I used the facts that I had, the things that I could conclude initially, early on in the investigation, to put into this report.
Okay. Again, sir, during your investigation, you learned that Officer Christian was on Sycamore Drive looking for his carjacking suspect, Jamie Hood. Isn't that correct?
I understand that there was some traffic that went out over the radio.
But isn't it true that you put into your report, Officer Christian arrived his back up because that's what Officer Christian was doing, coming up there rolling the car? Isn't that correct?
I don't know what Officer Christian was doing specifically, if he was specifically responding as backup, or if he happened to be, as my understanding, I learned later that he happened to be on another call.
Now, sir, you didn't put nowhere in your report that Officer Christian just sitting right there in the middle of Sycamore Drive and waiting on shift change and Jamie Hood and riding around the shot.
I didn't put in my report.
You didn't put nothing in your report here stating that Officer Christian was just sitting right there in the middle of the road, waiting on shift change, or just sitting on the unrelated car and Jamie Hood and ran past his car and come back and shot him. You didn't put that in your report, did you?
No, I couldn't talk to Officer Christian.
Okay, but you couldn't put it in your report about Jamie Hood running past his car. He was just sitting there on the unrelated car waiting on shift change, couldn't you?
Mr. Hood, I had the facts at the time, and the facts that I had at the time, and my understanding of the case and the events as they were unfolding, are the details that were placed into this report.
Just go on. I just move on. I'm on them, sir.
You have more questions?
Yeah, I have more questions. I'm just leading off this on now.
Yes, who's got it?
Did anybody force you to write this report?
Absolutely not.
You did this on your own free will, right?
That's correct.
And you did all of your, you also done it off your own investigation, right?
Off my own investigation?
Yes, sir.
Now, you do understand that we have investigative roles. We have investigative swim lanes. So, based on my investigative role at the time in crime scene and another investigator's role that may be actively out there interviewing and so on, we have different roles, so we have different understandings. There may be another investigator that's out doing an investigation, and he may or she may discover facts that I didn't have at the time that I wrote this report. So the facts that I had at the time on March 24th, 2011 were the details that were put in the summary.
But you put them in there, right?
I did.
You wrote it, right?
I wrote that, yes.
Did nobody twist your arm through you?
That's argumentative, it's like you've been asked over. It's the same.
Now, going back to the Omar Ray case, sir. Before I proceed, now did you state during your testimony that was it Blake did the investigation on the audio and video camera officer coming out of the car?
Yeah, it was my recollection that he was probably the officer that did that.
Did you talk to Mr. Blake about that audio and video off that car, what investigation he done on the sir?
I did not.
You know, maybe anyone else maybe talked to him about it and found some information about this, sir?
That would be hearsay, Judge. Officer Black had testified. Right.
Well, I'd like to take you back to what it is, 10th Monday, 29th, Omar Ray case, sir, then when you arrived on the scene, or was it the 28th or the 29th?
I arrived on the 29th, the early morning hours of the 29th.
Okay. State Specific, 960 through 1057. 1061, I'm sorry. Ma'am, I'd like to see, I'm sorry, gone. I'd like to see State Specific. 956 through 1099. 1100, I'm sorry. 1100. 956 through 1100, please. I'd like for you to look at State Specific 1055, please, sir. You say you found this McDonald's bag and this cap and this straw with a lid, and when you got it in this gray car the next day, they're correct, sir?
That's correct.
Okay. I noticed you didn't mention anything about this cell phone next week. What happened there?
The photographs that I took at the particular time were daylight photographs. So these are evidently not the photos that I took. Sergeant Radford evidently had done some kind of processing on this vehicle, and the next day I decided I would go ahead and out of posterity take those items into evidence. So when I took my photographs, that item was not present.
So would you agree all the items that you retrieved out of the car were present except this cell phone right here?
Yes, that's correct. 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Do you know why that cell phone still wasn't there when you got there?
Now that's hard to do the way you phrase that. And, basically, you show the photos that have been identified as taken off by Sergeant Bradford the night before, and fine, I guess, it's somewhat misleading as far as this particular detective is not showing any photos that he took the next day. Because he identifies and clearly indicates which ones he's showing.
I just show you the photos. Okay. Mr. Rapper, sir, I'd like to go to State Specific 957, sir. Are these the photos that you took and the item that was in the car at the time you took the photos, sir?
That's the condition of the vehicle as I found it.
Okay. Now, you would agree there ain't no cell phone in the car?
I would agree with that. That's correct.
I just showed you this photograph that you didn't take. You didn't take the photograph that I showed you earlier with cell phone in the car, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So, do you know who took that phone out of this car? Did anybody tell you they took that phone out of this car?
I have no idea. No way I can testify to that.
What is that? Is that phone? Did somebody move that phone right there? Do you know what this is right here with the light on it?
No, I'm not sure what that is.
Is it possible that could be that phone that we saw right here? Is it possible, or we don't know, or you don't know?
Now, that's a misleading question. It's not a good faith basis to ask that. It's Sergeant Bradford's already testified that he sees that phone at night and turn it over to Chris Nichols. So it's not a good faith basis to ask that question, and it's misleading.
I'll try another question.
I wasn't aware of that Mr. Radford. That's why I asked him.
I didn't know it was testing.
Okay, well, I guess I missed it.
Yes, sir.
Now, you say you could, there is DNA on them on this cap and this bag and that straw right there, sir?
No, I didn't.
Or what you do with it? What type of processing you did? Test DNA or something? What did you do?
I did no DNA testing. I'm not qualified to do DNA testing on a hat.
Well, what did you do on the bag and straw?
I did swabs for any potential DNA. I did not do any type of processing on a black net cap. If I wanted processing on the black net cap, I would have sent it off to the GBI crime lab, untouched by myself, and requested that specific testing.
Okay, did you send that cap off to see who might have been wearing it? Did you send it off to the GBI lab?
I did not send it off.
Why not?
I did not send it off. I'm not sure. I wasn't requested. I don't know. I did not send it.
Do you think it would have been prudent for you to send it off? Maybe the DNA would have came back to the person who shot him already. It might have been sitting right there in that car with him that happened.
What I'm saying is, again, we're going to go back to swim lanes. There's certain investigative swim lanes that we have. Sometimes things that are sent off, they're sent off by myself at the request of another investigator. Sometimes they're sent off by an investigator. I did not request testing in this particular item, and I don't know if another investigator had that item sent off.
Were you the one? Were you the person who took this item out of his car? Did you take this skull cap out of his car and put it into evidence?
I did.
And what placard did you have on that placard number 3?
That's correct.
So are you telling us that you didn't took this car, this skull cap, and you put it in evidence, and you didn't have to test it in any way, form, or fashion?
That's what I said.
When you agree that you didn't do a full investigation on this skull cap?
Again, we're going to go back to investigative swim lanes. Certain times, I will submit evidence for testing at the request of another investigator. Sometimes other investigators will independently do that on their own. What I'm testifying to you is that I did not have this sent off, and I don't know if another investigator did.
Could you personally could have sent it off since you were the one who retrieved out his car and put it in evidence? Could you possibly just, hey, let me just get this tested so I can see maybe who was wearing it could lead us to the person who killed Mr. Ray?
Potentially I could have, but again, I was not requested to, and therefore I did not send this off for testing.
Did anybody request for you to take this DNA fingerprints off this McDonald's bag and this straw? Who requested that from?
No, but I did that on my own.
So
Because that's within my scope of responsibility at the police department. I process items of evidence for fingerprints.
So you had this process for DNA, but you had the process for DNA. You didn't want to treat all the items.
I had a process for fingerprints.
So, but if you wanted to, you could have this hat. If you wanted to.
Sustained.
What that hat is now, sir? Do you have any idea what that cap is now?
I just had the cap.
Yeah, you got it, right? Because you had this tested right now if you want to.
Potentially, yes.
Did the prosecutor tell you had this tested before you got it?
That's not a proper question. The defendant knows that's not a proper question. In addition, when you want to ask him where's that cap now, he was here in the room when we introduced that cap just a short time ago, in particular state's exhibit.
What?
Or responded?
Yes, sir.
Did you not remember it was submitted?
Yeah, but
Did you know where it was?
okay. You asked me to respond. Now, please respond.
Did you know where the cap was?
I forgot that I respond.
Please.
Okay, I introduced an exhibit about this camera. He said this agent out there with a cell phone to look at it. So
That's enough response.
okay, that's what.
Objection sustained. Continue.
Do you always have a full investigative case?
That's argument, Judge.
Sustained.
What about the marijuana y'all found? Tell us about that.
I didn't find any marijuana.
Lights on, please.
I thought you said you saw something detected, somebody found some different marijuana you were there looking at.
There was marijuana present in the speaker.
How much marijuana was it?
I don't know. I didn't weigh it.
Did you eye it?
I looked at it.
What does it look like just off the picture? What does it look like?
It looked like a bag of marijuana.
How much? Ounce, quarter ounce, what is it?
Let me Mr. Hood, I'm not a drug dealer. I don't know just by looking at a bag how much the content is inside the bag. I have previously been a marijuana examiner. I did that, and the way we identify it is we use a scale, a digital scale that's been certified with the weights, and we also do microscopic and chemical analysis. So I'm happy to talk about that, but I'm sorry I can't look at a bag of a green leafy material and tell you how much it weighs.
You know what marijuana is?
It appeared to be marijuana.
How many years you been a trained law enforcement officer, certified? How long you been certified, sir?
16 years.
16 years. So you think you can look at them enough that you can maybe just give us a ballpark figure?
No.
Did you find, do you know any DNA or Jamie Booth found that murder scene of Mr. Omar Ray?
DNA evidence?
Any fingerprints, shoe prints, palm prints?
Not familiar with any of that.
Did you know me as a suspect in Mr. Ray's murder before March 22nd, 2011?
You were developed as a suspect at some point in time. Exactly when, I don't know.
Was it prior to March 22nd, 2011, or was it after?
No, it was prior to March 22nd.
So you mean to tell me I was a suspect in Mr. Ray case before March 22nd, 2011?
I believe that's my understanding, yes.
Okay, where did understanding come from?
It comes from conversations with other people.
Okay, did anybody come talk to me or interview me or ask me, was you the one killed Mr. Omar Ray prior to March 22nd, 2011?
He can't answer that, Judge. The only way he could answer is through hearsay, which is obviously not necessary.
Now you heard this? He just said that through conversation, I was a suspect prior to March 22nd, 2011. He just said that. That's why I asked the second question, where you did from, where come from? He the one said it.
Said in response to a specific question about that, follow-up question we call hearsay.
So of your prior knowledge, of your own independent knowledge, do you have any reports or any recordings of Jamie Hood being a suspect in Mr. Ray case before March 22nd, 2011, sir?
Well, that's a great way to ask the same question in that regard. And of course, under the rules, really how to do statements of a particular witness for hearsay as well. But it's really an indirect way to ask the same question.
How did my name come up in Mr. Ray case before March 22nd, 2011 when you did
That's the same question. Start doing that, bringing all the reports, you can read all that stuff. In that instance, that would all call for hearsay for this investigator to answer that question.
Objection sustained to that line of questions.
So, do you have a written report yourself for this alleged Jamie Hood being a suspect before March 22nd, 2011?
I do not.
Well, if I'm a suspect, why didn't you write it down in your written report and document it?
Again, there are certain swim lanes that we have within law enforcement. Mine happens to be crime scene. So there are robbery, homicide investigators. They have a different role. They may have an active suspect that they're pursuing in a particular case, and they may not share that with me. They may not share all the details and the reports and so on and so forth, but from time to time we will have conversations within the police department. If another officer says that they're conducting an investigation into a particular suspect, that is not for me to document what they did in the case.
So, them shell cases y'all found, them 6 shell cases, there might be DNA, fingerprints, blood, palm prints, hair, anything come back. That's what Jackie Hood, thinking Jackie Hood in them shell cases.
Not DNA.
With no further question at this time, Judge, subject to recall.
Are you right?
Yes, Your Honor. Call served. May I retrieve defendant 27, please?
I'm trying to get them in order, please. You say you want them back in the right.
Defendant last exhibit, I thought was 27.
Okay, there you go, there you go, oh, there you go, I'm sorry.
You would check that off.
Okay.
Start, maybe.
There you go, ma'am.
Turn the lights and start. State exhibit 927, sir. I meant to ask you, do you see the roof of that in the corner of the roof? In the white area that's on that particular roof, sir?
Snow?
You recall that to be snow at that time?
I recall that it was cold. I know that one of the photographs that I had my work gloves on. It's about as thick as we can work with the dexterity. It was cold.
Yes. As far as defendant's exhibit 27, that he himself put into evidence. In the first paragraph there, sir. What were you indicating there in regard to those case numbers and what were, as far as that last line? Would you read that last line, please, sir?
So that Jamie Hood was the suspect in this case, but this case is currently unsolved.
And at that time, sir, the 6 shell casings, the 40 CCI casings that you're referring to was found at the scene, was that at the scene of 360 Nottingham Drive?
It was.
Sir, that blood stain, or that deposit of blood that was on that gate, was that submitted to the crime lab as far as you understand?
It was.
Was it submitted for possible DNA for comparison?
It was.
And did you learn what the results were?
And my understanding was that the suspected bullet belonged to the victim, Omari Ray.
And you indicated that basically the touch DNA off the item 1 that you labeled as item 1, that one shell casing, you submitted that to the crime lab as well, sir?
I did.
And Mr. Hood asked you about that overall, and you indicated that there was no DNA. Can you explain that a little bit?
From the understanding that I had through the report, there was insufficient. My understanding, the touch DNA, there's an amount. I can't go into the specifics because I can't speak intelligently on the subject, but my basic understanding is there was an insufficient quantity to come to a conclusion by that particular examiner.
Do you even have anything to compare to anybody? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Insufficient sample to compare to anybody?
That's correct.
Okay. And that was from a swab of the CCI shell casing that you made to send off for processing.
That's
to see if there's any possibility of getting any DNA.
That's correct.
And the bag, the cup, and the straw, and the cup lid were all processed for prints, and there were no prints available from that to compare to anybody.
That's correct.
That's all I have with this one. That's all I have taken care of.
Briefly again, Judge, can I get defendant 27, please? Sir, I'd like you to look at defendant, exhibit number 27, sir. Now, in your first paragraph, You say that James Hood was a suspect in this case, but the case is currently unsolved.
That's correct.
Now, what day did you write this? March 24, 2011?
That's correct.
Was it before March 22nd, 2011 you wrote this?
I wrote this on March the 24th.
Okay. So, now, again, before March 22nd, 2011, did you have any written report that James Hood was a suspect?
That has been asked and answered, just so these prefaces, questions.
It's saying, okay.
No, you-
I believe, yeah, that's a sign.
Okay. You would agree that this is your first written report about James Hood being a suspect in Mr. Ray case, and that occurred on March 24, 2011, you wrote it. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
No other question.
This document, Appendix 27, is that really a report from the regular, normal course of your business that you normally see when you write up something to record what's going on?
No, this is typed up in a Word document. This is a very generic type of summary. Most of our reports are written within the iLead system. It's our computer database. It's got specific case number that's populated and other information is populated within the report as you write it, header and footer and so forth. This is just a generic document that I type up in Word.
And that document there, that summary, it was going and went with what?
This document was attached to a crime lab submission request, along with ballistic evidence recovered from the Amari racing, from Jamie Hood's, a casing recovered from Jamie Hood's Cadillac, and also from the Howard and Christian shooting.
And so those items that were basically, they were being submitted to the crime lab for testing?
That's correct. I wanted to do contrast and compare to see if I could link these particular items of these cases.
And that summary you prepared was to give them background information for their testing purposes?
That is correct.
Thank you, sir.
You just stated that you...
I'll take care of it.
Okay. You just stated about the shell case about that Cadillac.
That's correct.
Okay. Isn't it true that this shell case matches the 6 shell cases y'all found at the Amari racing?
It is.
It's true, isn't it?
That is correct.
Okay. Are you aware that Mr. Brooks told the GBI, Rebecca Shaw, and the technical car that Jason was robbed and somebody shouted in his car? Are you aware of that, sir?
I'm not aware of any conversations with regards to that investigation that you speak.
Okay, so, well, when they wanted to talk about this shell case in the back of my car, they didn't talk about it while I was robbed.
They said he was not aware of that. Answer no question.
So, have you ever crossed your mind, or would it be reasonable that somebody robbed me and shot in my car, that could be the same shell case a couple of done and robbed me? Have you ever thought about that?
Speculation, Judge, and I would reject it.
But is it possible?
That's the same question, Judge.
What type of investigation you done on the shell case in the back of my car?
I took the shell casing that was found in the back of your car. I compiled the narrative that I spoke about earlier. I put those items together, sent it off, and requested testing at the crime lab.
Okay. I thought you said your report was generic.
That is correct.
Why would you send a generic report off?
Because there's no iLeads template.
Sir?
There is no iLeads computer-based template to achieve what I did with this generic report.
Okay. So would it be more concrete if you had leads? Don't you want your investigation on any murder to be concrete?
It is concrete, and it's in black and white.
Okay. But again, you said it was generic. Okay, if you say it's black and white, then I'm Christian right the back up, get it right. You put it in your report.
Well, that's been asked and answered. He's already explained that.
No other question.
Yes, sir.
I'm asking you to go ahead, you're going to talk about the matter of next week, so.
Can I have a quick recall on I like that.
It was not tender.
Yes, sir, Judge, I can kind of preface it, but, I'll follow up with that, but Dr. Eisenstadt is here. There are a number of different autopsy photos, 2 different autopsies that were conducted, and, involving Lamar Ray as well as also Bud Christian. And, we want to take up the matter